early 30s is a time of your life when people are at a crossroads, and some people are settling down, having kids, buying a house. Some people are booking the flights and like scheming about the adventures, or like really career focused. Like I've seen a lot of your thinking around your full-time career and the job there, and then also your passion projects and the things that you're building that are coming from the heart and from the mind. And like, this is an investment into how do I get myself to find the places and the states of being and the lifestyle design where I feel, I don't even want to say happy, because you're not supposed to feel happy all the time, but you feel connected, tapping into your somatic knowledge and not just being stuck in your head, because we can catastrophize. We can come up with 1,000 different outcomes for something based on what we know.
Today here with me, it's Whitney Stewart, a very special guest I met just recently, a year ago, on a very random setup. We'll talk about this a bit later. But it's also special because this woman came into my life and enlightened a lot of the things for me. And I wanted her to be the first international guest in my Vivenza podcast, because her mindset is so different than what I'm used to. And I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, it was kind of like a cosmic overlap that we were brought together. Kind of me doing the things that I tend to randomly do and connecting people and exploring, and then you being on one of the stops along the way of where I was going, and just our energy and like the feelers that we put out into the universe that just kind of like clicked together.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a risk for the both of us in the way that we met and our friendship started. But then it was like instant synchronicity in the way that, just like we interact with the world, and then having each other and being in each other's lives over the last year has just really kind of catapulted some of the things that like energize me and excite me, and like the friendship that we've created in that time since, and the way we've gone on some adventures together, or like debriefed some of the things that we've wrestled with or been considering. It's funny that I've only known you a year, because it's felt like a lot longer.
Exactly. It was an instant match. Like she arrived at my doorstep at 2 a.m.
Yeah, we'd never met before. Should I tell like the brief story So I was traveling last summer through Europe to come to a music festival in Albania. And I found a really cheap flight to go from New Jersey to Oslo, Norway. So I was like, I'm in this like new exploratory chapter of my life. I just quit my career. And I was like, why not travel 3 weeks to get to this festival, solo traveling, but on the way, meet different people that might also be going to this festival, or like the kind of music that I like and are part of the community. And so a former manager of mine had said, don't miss Ljubljana in Slovenia. And like most Americans, I had no idea about anything about Slovenia. But, I like to take these signals from the universe. And I had created these WhatsApp groups. One was just for anyone going to the festival, and then one was for solo female travelers going to the festival. And Mansa, through the process of looking for a room at the festival, got kind of looped into that. And so when I put out a call on the women's group being like, hey, I'm a solo traveler, someone told me to check out Slovenia, anyone know anything about Ljubljana? Mansa like peeped up and said, hey, actually I have an extra bedroom, you should stay with me. And this is like something I've been doing probably since I was a teenager. There's kind of an energy that you can get when an invitation seems right, even if you haven't met the person before. And sometimes you end up in a little bit of a sketchy situation. And I was coming from Budapest, and I was on a bus, and I was like, I'm going to this random apartment. Hopefully it's not some weird catfishing thing or whatever, but popped in, was there 2 a.m, went right to bed, Mansa opened the door, but then the next day he started showing me around the city. And from there, like we spent a couple days together. I moved on in my trip, and then we met back up again in Albania. And we didn't even see each other that much at the festival, but we hit it off so well that I then ended up coming back to Ljubljana twice on that trip. And yeah, like it just like I keep coming back. It's a year later now, and I extended this trip to come back to Slovenia just to spend some more time here.
Yeah, it was such a great like addition to how I live my life, getting you, but like also from a point of building a friendship in our age group, right? We're all busy individual. We live, we have a career, we have, our friends are getting kids.
Yeah.
But like to meet new person and connect on such a level is such a blessing.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of, early 30s is a time of your life when people are at a crossroads, and some people are settling down, having kids, buying a house. Some people, are booking the flights and like scheming about the adventures, or like really career focused. Like I've seen a lot of your thinking around your full-time career and the job there, and then also your passion projects and the things that you're building that are coming from the heart and from the mind. And like I'm in a space where I was in a career that had been like my dream job, but and I was doing really well in it, but I was not feeling well. And so a year and a half ago, right before this trip where we had met, I had to take a step back and say, hey, I've done this thing. I'm making the 6-figure salary. I like have the life, but I'm unwell. And so how do I transition out of that and like kind of create some more space to evaluate the structures that I had built around me that weren't serving me, and then to try to figure out what kind of energy I wanted to really be immersed in. And so I think a lot of that, like that's happening to a lot of us in this chapter of our lives, because it's like we're at this, third full decade kind of looking from the vista at like what's to come and what momentum we're building in our lives. And we're at a place of identity and agency where we can really start to pull the levers on that and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to grind for another 10 years and then I'm going to retire. Or like for me, I was like, I can't grind like this anymore. I don't even know if I have the next 10 years guaranteed. Like, who knows what it's going to look like with climate change, with geopolitical BS and everything. And so about 2 years ago, I connected into this music community, was like, this is what I want to feel like. Not necessarily like, I don't always want to feel like I'm raving at a concert, but like I want to be on this wavelength with people around me who are also not afraid to like lean in or lean out, or like, kind of reach out for the further hanging branch when it's like, it's not guaranteed. But you then find yourself surrounded by other people that are like, let's take a risk and see how I can actually feel and what path I can chart as I'm like kind of drawing the map for what the rest of my life is going to look like.
It's a very point where you can feel the freedom, right? We're not stuck with anything. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, and like, I mean, I also don't want to take for granted I have an immense amount of privilege to be able to do this, and the work that I did before this, and like the family that I came from, and the support that I've had from my network and my friends, and like all of that has allowed me to have the space to like try to take a pause. I saw a book over there. It was like Stillness is the Key. Yeah. I was like, okay, I want to read this. Like some people are not afforded the ability to take that pause and stop because they have other people relying on them, or there are choices that were made like either for them or earlier in their lives that mean that they do have to keep hustling. But I think to continue to look for the spaces where you can pause and kind of build that space between like, here's a thing and here's the reaction, and like what's in between the thing and the reaction that like I have control over, and how I can not just be in this automatic processing, decision-making, like reactionary way of living in a way that I think a lot of us are just taught to like ride this escalator of like marriage, kids, house, career. And there are different versions of that, but I don't know, like, how do you choose your own adventure? How do you design your own adventure?
Yeah, and not to feel stuck, like that you need to do something that is expected from you. But if you let's circle back a bit to the moment when you realize it's time to change, or maybe a few moments before that. How did you feel? How was the process? Mind?
So I think there was always kind of a knowing in me that I was out of balance in my career and in some of the relationships that were taking up the majority of my time and energy. It's kind of like when you're like in a relationship with someone and you know it's not it, but you really want it to work. And so you just try to like do whatever you can, and you tap into your battery and you try different tricks. And I don't want to say that it was like fully the career or fully like the company I was in. It's this interplay between the external and the internal, and like the system and the individual. And for me, the way that I process information and make decisions and handle stress, where I was not the right place for me to be in. And like from a larger, like I worked for boutique agencies and consultancies as a account manager and project manager. So it was like, how do you get stuff done? And how do you build relationships in order to get stuff done? And like nurturing that. And it was a little bit of a salesy role, which I'm really not a salesperson. So on a lot of levels, it wasn't right, but I wanted it to be right because it was sexy and it came with all these perks and like the money was great. And like the people I was working with were amazing. They still are. But the system wasn't the right fit for me. And it was the third different boutique consultancy where I was feeling that though. So like you can kind of see like there was a common denominator in there of how I was processing the incoming stress and relating to that, and then burning out and like insomnia. And like I would get to the end of the day and, I wouldn't know how to cook a meal for myself because I was so burnt out. So the real moment that I knew I had to make a change was I had gotten an email from a client, and it wasn't even anything like a major thing, but it was like some minor mistake may have been made, and I had a panic attack about it. And in my rational brain, I was like, this is silly. This is real. No one is going to die because there was a typo in an email. But in my emotional body, it couldn't. Like my cortisol system was in overdrive, and my sympathetic nervous system was like firing in all directions. And I just was like, this is, I was getting hives all over my body. Like there were clear physical symptoms that I was overly stressed. And I know like I've spoken with my mom about this since, and she would say like my face was like tight, and now when she looks, she's mentioned a few times, like, you just look different. It's not like, there's just something different about the way your body is reacting. And the world is not better now than it was a year and a half ago when I quit. But I have carved out more space, and I'm still observing the things that I do related to external stimuli. Like I recognize there's a lot of internal work that I still need to do in order to have that abundance grounding, as opposed to like, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, like I don't have enough plans, I don't have enough friends, I'm not good enough. Like all that kind of stuff is stuff that only really gets shifted when you spend time quietly internally with yourself, which honestly, I'm not that good at. I know I should do more of it, but like there's so many things that I like to do out there in the world. So part of my practice these days and moving forward is spending more time in that like default mode network of like the quietness and stillness and meditation. And anyway, you asked about like the moment that I knew I needed to shift. And it was just that, it was that panic attack on the heels of a couple of other similar experiences where I was like, doesn't matter how much money I'm making, if I continue to have these compounding health effects which are literally my body. Like I've known for a while, this isn't right, but my body is now waving the flag saying, even if you end up without any money and alone, that is less risky than what you're doing to yourself right now.
But leaving this great job, fancy job, 6-figure income, like when you decided, did you create any kind of, I don't know, safety net? Like what was the thought process here?
So I always consider myself a buffer girl. So like I have different buckets of savings that I built. One is like my 401k, my retirement fund, which was always first priority for me. It was like, you are the only one who's going to be taking care of yourself, guaranteed at the end of your life.
But you make a cut immediately after the salary, or to put it to the
like it would just come right out of my paycheck and go right into this like untouchable. Like in order to get in the States, in order to get to your retirement fund, you have to like pay money, and like it's really hard to touch. So it's like money that goes into a vault and you forget that it's there.
Yeah.
And no matter what the market does, like it's a long-term investment. So it's just there, and it's like a nest egg that's there and you forget about it.
Yeah.
Then I have like individual brokerage accounts. Well, there are other like non-taxable, like IRA, Roth, like all that's retirement stuff. So you kind of max all those out, like fill those up as much as you can. And you know, it's not even about like maxing it. It's just like you put a little bit in there.
Yeah.
That goes into this space that is, it's not for fun, it's for end of life.
Yeah. And it's fixed, right? Every month. It's not that you...
Yeah. Like even if it's a couple $100 or $100 or whatever it is, you take that, you put it there and you leave it.
But it's a fixed every month, the same amount, or no?
It was, although like I would kind of, I would play around with it a little bit. Then I had my like brokerage accounts. Well, actually I skipped a step here. Always have an emergency fund. I think that's even before the retirement fund is like, they call it an FU fund, where if you're in a position where you're not safe or you're like really not happy, you can jump ship and like, or like if you need your car to get around and you crash your car, you can, it's like to prevent you from going to credit card debt. So like you have your chunk of money, and that's liquid, but for emergencies only. Yeah. So you've got that, you've got your retirement nest egg, which is like, I'm not gonna, you know, if I run out of disposable cash that I can touch, I don't get to touch that. Yep. I have to go get whatever version of job is like available to me, which I've done, like restaurant work or events work, or like whatever it is that your personality and skill set lends you to do. And so there's that. And then I had like different buckets of savings that were liquid, and it was like you get to, and so for me, I was like, okay, I have like X amount of money. Yeah. This was going to be like, I thought about going to business school. I thought about buying a house. It was an investment fund. And then I made the call when I quit my job. Yeah. This is going to be an investment into the next, I mean, I said it was going to be a year. It's now been a year and a half. So like the timeline's a little skewed, but this is an investment into how do I get myself to find the places and the states of being and the lifestyle design where I feel, I don't even want to say happy, because you're not supposed to feel happy all the time, but you feel connected. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's been traveling. It's been meeting people. It's been going to a lot of music events. It's been exploring the music industry as like a potential way to like build out my LLC and like my consulting services. But it's also been to not have that like continued activated sympathetic nervous system where it's like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out of my career. And now I'm going to go into my next step of my career and just still be really stressed out because there was no difference between it. So, and like, I think about like the voices in your head kind of like as it's like IFS thinking. Yeah. Internal family systems is a type of therapy where it's like there are different board members at the table. So I always have like the strategist and the planner and the child, like the free spirit child and the party girl. And there is always a voice in my head, which I am working on strengthening my relationship to, that's like, not enough, like you're wasting your time, you're not doing enough, you're like spending your money frivolously. And so like there is definitely that voice that's like, you should probably be working full time, you should probably have a title, you know, you should probably be married with kids, and like all of these things that sometimes are coming from external but have become internalized. And so I try to I'm like, I hear you. I know that you are working in my best interest. However, I think right now there are some other voices at this table that either need to be heard or just need to have a little bit of space. So that way, when I commit to a career or want to build a family or want to buy a house somewhere, I'm doing it for the right reasons and not for scarcity and fear reasons. So you're doing it out of love as opposed to out of fear. And so, just like trying to figure out how to I can say on one hand, like it has felt like this has been an investment. And then there's also that other part of my mind that's like, but maybe you're just, running around and wasting time and whatever. And like, when you talk to yourself, like I'm wasting time or I'm being lazy or whatever, like that is a story. That is a specific point of view. There's another way to tell that story. Like I think we were talking earlier in the car, when, you know, a lot of people will like to say, oh, I'm just being lazy today. And it's like, okay, well, lazy is not really a kind word to use for yourself. Maybe you can like say, I'm giving myself a day of rest because I just spent 7 days, you know, on buses or working on a project or setting up an event. And today is the day that I'm kicking my feet up and I'm allowing myself to rest and like, you know, to exhale after I've inhaled and to like have some stillness after all this movement. Like just being really intentional about that language. And then as those, like the little voices pop up, there's like not enough, too much, being like, okay, I hear you. And that's a perspective that has value. And maybe we can slightly tweak that perspective so it's a little bit kinder and a little bit more of a compassionate perspective.
Because I think it has a strong effect on our subconscious.
Yeah, well, and it has an effect both on how we think about ourselves, but then also how we think about other people in relation to us.
Yeah.
So like to be more compassionate, as long as it's not coming at an expense where we're like experiencing compassion fatigue and we're just totally like watered down and like not able to hold our own boundaries. I think being more compassionate towards ourselves and the other people around us, and in the stories that we tell ourselves and in the stories we're telling about the people that surround us, I think that only leads to more connection, even when sometimes you're like, I can connect this much, and then like I also need space or I need like a boundary here.
And okay, you decided to not change the job, but leave the job, leave the life you had, and start building something for yourself first, but building like yours, focusing on self-care, basically.
Yeah.
Building the new Whitney. So what about your friends' family reaction?
I got a lot of support. My family especially. My dad will support me in anything I do. My mom too, but my dad is kind of just like, he's like on board. He's like, I love you. You know, I called him last week from a music festival in Albania and he told me he was proud of me. And I was like, that's so sweet, but like, you know what we do at festivals, you know, like we're dancing, we're meeting people, like, you know, and it is a beautiful space, but is, you know, he's proud of me for whatever I do just because he adores me and like that.
Trust you.
That love is amazing. My mom was so relieved, which I am very grateful for, because a lot of people's parents are like, you know, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
What's your career going to be? But I think my mom could really see the impact that my career had been having on me, like the physical effects, the stress effects, the fact that like I couldn't show up in the way that I wanted, like as the kind of person that I wanted to be in relationship to people. And that was another one of the major indicators that I wasn't okay, was like, I was resentful, I was sharp, you know, I was either like high strung or really kind of nasty to people sometimes just because I didn't have anything left. So anyway, family, very supportive. Friends were very supportive. And I think a lot of my friends are in similar positions in this economy, where similar positions in the sense that they're stretched thin and like the system of capitalism is failing, and we're all being asked to do more and more with less and less. And so I experienced some envy from friends. People said they were jealous, and they did it in a joking way, but you always know there's like that kernel of truth. And some of my friends are not in a position financially where they can jump ship, so to speak, to swim in the sea for a year and a half. So, you know, I think like, I feel so grateful that I have the ability to do that. And I also hope that some of the ways in which I've done this can serve as a model, or, you know, I can help friends of mine also get to a place where they feel like their 2 feet are firmly on the ground, or like maybe they can just carve out more little moments of pause or moments of that like positive self-talk. I think the main pushback I got from this decision, and it wasn't even pushback, it was just surprise, but it was from the company I was in. But it was really just like, oh gosh, you're leaving. And, it was a surprise, despite the fact that I had said in a few ways, like, hey, this isn't working. Hey, this isn't sustainable. Hey, I'm being asked to ask things of my team that are not reasonable or fair. And that goes against my value system. But it just was like the nature of the business we were in, and like the nature of the moment we were in that business. And again, like my own well-being that led to that moment. So, there was a moment there where it was just like, oh shoot, we're losing Whitney. And I was, but the thing is, like, I love the company. I love the people I worked with. I would happily work with them again, like 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week. Like we've talked about freelancing, and I would be delighted to do that. It's just, for me, it's not something that I'm built to do full-time plus. And, agency, any client services oriented work is going to be like, has these ebbs and flows of intensity, but always kind of trends towards more intense, for sure. Especially businesses based on the East Coast of the United States, like DC, New York. The pace is just, you got to go. And some people thrive in that. And I'm like a gentle flower child, like you saw me last summer. I'm happy, like weaving flowers into crowns and like, I don't know, like I do have that part of me that likes to switch on and like go and drive and get things done and like go chase that achievement. But I really have those ebbs and flows where it's like sometimes the light switches on, sometimes the light switches off, and then I need to like have space. And so I've realized I just need a little bit more of that modularity and like the modulation in the way that I design my career. And I've been thinking a lot about that as I freelance and talk to new agencies, or, thinking about the role that agency and consulting, like that kind of freelancing plays in the portfolio of career chunks that I want to build going forward.
The place or the area where you really shine is this planning, budgeting kind of thing. You decided to have this, let's say, emergency fund, to use it for freedom, let's say. But you actually extended it. How did this work for you? Like, how did you find your ways?
Well, so I'd had these different buckets of like, okay, this money is for this Euro summer trip last year, which then ended up becoming like 2 different trips because I had some weddings to come back for. And then I just was feeling momentum in like the music industry space and wanted to be there. And then I had a bucket that was like, all right, this is what I will use when I come back and like want to put my, like, what is it, nose to the grindstone, I think is the saying. And then I got back from the trip and I actually realized I was doing the travel the same way I had done the work. I ended up going to more than 25 countries last year in the span of 4.5 months. And I got back and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. What did I, and it was amazing, but like the last couple stops, I was drained. And then I was like, I don't really think I've shifted the behavior that I thought I would shift just by leaving the work. I've kind of like moved it into other areas of my life, which is part of me being like, all right, it's not, it's not any external system on its own. It's also how I show up to it. But I realized I wasn't ready to go back to full-time work. And so I took some of that like fund that I had created for like, all right, this is going to be this, like, I'm going to be ready for this chapter. This money is going to go towards that chapter. And I said, I actually think I need, I think I started out with a month. I was like, I need a month of just being home, not hustling, not pushing. Like, I'm just going to go to the gym. I'm going to grocery shop. I'm going to sit at my coffee shop and try to drink decaf. I'm going to connect with people. And like, and I like, it's not like I wasn't working. I was freelancing and I was working in a restaurant in my neighborhood, which I barely make any money doing, but the connection and the relationship building and like just the energy of that. And also the fact that it would keep me grounded in place for a little bit. And like, I have this analogy of like a tree where you have the branches that are growing out and like sprouting flowers and fruit. that's like the travel and the exploration, meeting new people and building new relationships. But then you also need like the trunk and the roots of the tree, which is the stuff that's not as sexy, like the grocery shopping, the cooking, the like, I don't know, there's something really satisfying about like buying food and making meals and like feeding yourself and your friends. And then you look in the fridge and you're like, I ate everything that I bought for myself a few days. It's like a self-care closed loop. And so that and like routine, like having the balance between both of those things. Yeah. And I realized I was still way out of balance. And so I was like, all right, I think my original hypothesis of like, I can get from here to here with this investment. I realized it was a lot deeper than that because it was a lifetime of internalized capitalism that I'm like trying to unpack and, you know, like childhood coping mechanisms and all kinds of stuff in those categories that I'm still trying to sort through. So I reallocated the money that was like, I'm going to use this to build a business because I was like, I don't actually know what I want to build yet. And if I build, like, I don't want to build something or, you know, I was like, I'll go back to school, but I was like, what the heck do I want to study? I don't know. Like, I love school. If I could just, you know, wave a wand and know what I'd study, I would do it in a heartbeat, but I don't know yet. And I am someone who really likes to have a decision and have a plan and have a budget and a timeline. And so I've been trying to lean more into the like, all right, well, I'm still in a liminal space and I love having a buffer, but it might be that I need to use, I mean, we're not talking about the 401k because like that's, you forget about that. Like that's gone. That's like, if I actually have no money, then I finally do that. But it's not as like, you know, that's the absolute last resource option. But I'm like, all right, like I still have like 6 more layers of like emergency fund and spending fund in like little chunks that I had built. And I was like, maybe I need to take the risk of like dipping into those a little bit more. Like it's scary because the economy is not great. And like geopolitical stuff is not good right now. It's really scary. So I want to have this like cocoon, but also if I'm in this cocoon with all these layers on the outside, and I'm not ready to really build on that yet, to me, the risk seems like I just am trying to lean into the risk of being in the ambiguity longer and maybe tapping into more of the resources that I'd like to have squirreled away, but maybe I just need to like be authentically where I am and like, I don't know if this like, I wouldn't say this is necessarily advice. It's just like, you can have all these plans, but not know what you're going to feel like in the moment when the plans are coming together. Or you can try to be in a space where you're like buzzing at this frequency that you're just, you know, you feel the most alive at, and then opportunities come up and you follow them. I have a friend, she's an amazing nutritionist. Her name's Linda Lynn. And she's like, money comes and money goes. I've got like $400 in my bank account. And when I need money, it shows up for me. And I'm like, that is wild. You are so free. That would terrify me. And I'm like, maybe I can lean a little bit closer to like, what's right here and right now, what's in front of me, what do I have, what can I give, like how can I grow so that I can give more to the people around me, and like maybe I don't need to have quite as many gold coins stashed in my dragon cave just in case the world blows up and then I'll have some gold, you know, like, and also I'm still gonna have a couple gold coins like stashed away because I'm a dragon, so you know.
But switching between those two mindsets, because majority of us, let's say, keep living in this rational world of, oh, I need to have an income, I need to have this savings, blah blah blah. I need to buy a house, I need to have a kid. Kid is expensive, and you going from this, then switching to no, I'm gonna live my free life and surround yourself with people like Linda saying, oh, okay, I can survive. Like, how are you switching between those two mindsets in your head? Because as you were telling, there is fighting constantly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I do experience a lot of anxiety. And it runs in my family. It's like a hereditary thing, like a genetic thing in my family, ADHD, anxiety, and depression. So like I do have those oscillating moments where like sometimes I feel really low and like, oh my gosh, I gave up, I jumped off the escalator and I'm not going up anymore. And then sometimes I have these really high, like energy knots where I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like the escalator's going and I'm standing on the side and my money's running out and like you get stuck in this story. And then sometimes like the ADHD hyperfocus cuts in and I'm like, I'm going to completely tear apart my resume and I'm going to, hyper fixate on every word and like send it. And so you kind of take that as it comes. And sometimes I don't know, sometimes you just have to ride whatever part of the wave it's on. Yeah. And then sometimes you try to stop it and just be like, hey, this is a tough narrative right now. Maybe there's a way we can shift it a little bit. And also, like, when I think about my career, it's kind of like the analogy I like to use is like it's a skipping stone where as I've moved forward, you never really knew exactly where it was going to touch the surface of the water. But when you look back, it makes sense. Yeah. And all of those touch points have been through relationships. Yeah. Just about. I mean, there have been a couple of times when I sent a random email to someone and that ended up being like a scope or whatever. But for the most part, it has come through connection. Mm-hmm. So when I get into this place where I'm like, I feel like I'm not doing enough in career, it's like, well, okay, so who have I worked with that has felt like I've enjoyed working with the most? Who have I worked with who has taught me lessons in the past or who has modeled their career in a way that I want to model? Or like even if it's someone that I don't know, who is someone who maybe I'm loosely connected to that might have a perspective on a job I haven't done before or a company that I don't know. And so how can I connect to them? Like, can I research what they've done? Could I listen to a podcast? Could I take them for a coffee? And a lot of the time, like that kind of like awareness or the ability, I'm a Starting Block Fellow. It's a social innovation fellowship that I did about 10 or 15 years ago at this point. And there was a workshop we did there called Make Your Own Luck, where it's like, if you need something, you need to make it visible if you need or want something, you need to make it visible in order for other people or resources or the universe or however you want to look at it to know that that's what you need. Exactly. And then if you have something to give, same thing, like you need to make it visible. Yeah. So when you're thinking about your career and you're networking, it's not so much like, how do I climb this ladder, but like, how do I activate these synapses in my community and my network around like, this is what I can do. This is what I'm energized at. This is what I don't know how to do yet, but I think I could be good at. And like, could I volunteer on something? Could I like shadow you? Could I support you in a certain way? And so it's like, when you're stuck in this headspace of I'm not doing enough or I have no momentum, how do you build little pieces of momentum? And you can't go into it thinking like, I'm going to walk out on the other side of a 20-minute coffee chat with a job. Yeah. Because that's transactional. Yeah. But it's more like, how can I connect with someone and kind of make visible what I am looking for and what I need and what I have and can give and contribute.
And also not putting that much pressure on one specific contact, but putting it out there. Yeah. Spreading the word.
Yep. It's like a hub and spoke model as opposed like, you've got the center and you've got all these different nodes around you and how people connect. And like, maybe you're going into a coffee chat with the hope that you can learn about a role or, you're talking to someone because you think they might have a job for you. And then they send you the job description and you're like, oh, this actually just happened to me. I was talking to a coffee distributor in Philadelphia where I live. And the role came back. A friend had connected me, a friend from the neighborhood. I had said like, hey, I'm actually kind of interested in doing this kind of work potentially. And she was like, wow, that's so cool to know that you're interested in that. Yeah. Something just opened up. Yeah. Maybe it's the right fit for you. I ended up talking to the company. It wasn't the right fit, but I knew someone else who was looking for that. Yeah. So it's like you create these other little nodes of like, and I don't know if that other person ended up getting the job, but it's like all these little connections create a social fabric that is more supportive of the people who are part of that space. And it creates this visibility and like these connections for energy to ebb and flow and for people to meet each other's needs around you as well.
It's a great that you said, like, okay, you need to make some actions, make connections, and go to a coffee. But then another important step, which I guess sometimes we are missing, is the missing link: how to position ourselves, how to present ourselves, who we are, how to build a story about us.
Yeah.
So how do you tackle that?
Well, I came up through, like, in my career, through a moment in time where personal branding was really important. And so I always kind of had that in the back of my mind. I also was working in business and brand strategy. So I've seen a lot of like, what are the messages? Like, what are the like the 3 words that you would use to describe yourself, whether it's like values or action principles or like personality characteristics. Like for me, I'm not really sure what my 3 words would be, but like off the top of my head, like curious, quirky or goofy, you know, like I'm like, you know, I have this kind of like mischievous energy, and warm, I would hope. So like, what are the things that you want to be known for? And I have a love-hate relationship with social media, particularly Instagram. It's, you know, it's definitely an addiction, absolutely an addiction. And it's something that I need to spend some time working on because my dopamine receptors are like glued into that phone. And also my collection of connections on Instagram, the stories that come through, the reels that come through, the people who consume the content that I produce there, it's like my travel blog, except that I'm not blogging. I'm just posting photos usually of cats and dogs.
And
or
pigeons
like,
nowadays.
Yeah, pigeons too. I actually love pigeons, which we can talk about. I know you're a huge fan. But like having some intentionality of the kind of content that goes into that space that is reminding people like that you are on this journey of whatever you're doing. And so for me, I collect connections around the world, and particularly, you know, the music space, the travel space, sometimes like the food space. They're all consolidated there, and it's like an easy way to remember. You know, I forget things very easily if I don't see them.
Yeah, being top of mind.
Yeah, like I have lettuce in the fridge. It's got to be in the front. You know, I got to see it, or else I'm going to forget that it's there. So it's a similar thing with connections, where if I'm not seeing them pop up or have some kind of visual reminder, it doesn't have to be Instagram, but like pinned in WhatsApp, or like, you know, my brain is usually kind of focused on whatever is I'm able to see, and so I'm sure it's similar for a lot of people. And so they see things coming through on your social media, like, oh, well, Whitney's traveling again. And I mean, that's one of the things that travel dogs, being really tall, like visual indicators of, I don't know, there's some of the more visual aspects of my personal brand. I don't spend a ton of time thinking, like, I'm not an influencer. I'm not trying to be that.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I do try to like keep some content out of like, here's where I've been. Like, I love Albania. I love Slovenia. People back home don't really know. They're like, Albania, really? I'm like, look at this.
It's lovely.
And now I have friends being like, oh my gosh, I want to go to Albania. I'm like, go soon because it's going to change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are different versions of that story that would be right for other people in their lifestyle, like your kids or your business. You know, I have a friend who's setting up a bakery. And so like the cakes that she's experimenting with, or like the designs, whatever it is. But I think there is like a visual component that's really helpful to have out there. And like, how can you use the tools that we have available to us to help support that?
Yeah, because I think a lot of hiring, or let's say hiring or adding new people to the team, it also has a strong personal connection to it. She likes to go to music festival. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, she's part of the Anjuna family.
Exactly.
Like, I know what kind of person in a Venn diagram of people you're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like she went to Tulane. Like you're like, I know what the Tulane undergraduate experience was like.
Yeah.
People want to see themselves in your story.
Yeah.
And if there's overlap, a lot of the time that means there will be some synchronicity. You can also meet people who are from a completely different background or lifestyle or level of income or career, like completely different people where there are like energetic similarities.
Yeah.
But especially in like a hiring context, it can be hard to find those in a cover letter or in a 30-minute phone screening.
Yeah, exactly. And majority of first cover letter screening comes from computer AI thingy. So there's no personal touch or whatever. So
and that's the thing about this AI world is like the soul is taken out of the things that are created. And I understand the like the upskilling and like the efficiency that AI brings to things, but it creeps me out for a few reasons.
Losing its soul.
Whenever you see an AI generated image, you can just feel it.
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm super bored with this new LinkedIn content. Everything is ChatGPT.
The writing, you can just tell what's happening.
So
with
generic.
The writing. And then, like, not to mention, every time we ask AI, like ChatGPT, to write an email for us, it's like taking a bottle of water and dumping it out.
Yeah.
Because of the data processing centers that need to run in order to like calculate the answers we need. So it's a tool.
It's a
tool that we need to use responsibly and with proper stewardship. And we're not trending well in that space in general. But yeah, I don't know. I'm on a little bit of a tangent here, but when you're, it's undeniable, like AI is changing the face of the work we do, the careers we build, the way that we connect with people, the way that we are like writing emails and so forth. And I just hope that like it doesn't, I don't know, I hope that we're just able to like find ways to use it responsibly and like both from that like environmental perspective, but also from the content that is being mined to create the new things that it's generating. You know, it's coming from artists, it's coming from writers. That's where any semblance or like hint towards soul in AI generated stuff comes from, is like the actual soul that was put into it by the people who created it before.
And I think the long-term winners will be the ones who still keep the personal touch, like adding as much of their soul to the context and build like the real connections.
Yeah, well, I am all for efficiency. I'm like, build a system that works well, that uses resources in a smart way. And I think AI can help with that immensely. However, if it's the driving thing, and it's wrong a lot of the time, like, you know, and it's also like, I don't know, I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes with this, but like, people are using AI as therapists and as counselors now. And it's like, this is a robot that makes mistakes. So yeah, I don't know. I think that there are ways that we can use it to help kind of like wormhole through some of the more stuff that is just like time intensive and unnecessary and like create efficiencies. But we also still need to keep the soul,
the filtering,
and like the smart stewardship of how we're applying that.
Yeah, but let's circle back to the in-person contact So, for example, you switched career, you switched roles. Basically, you said, "I'm gonna do a gap year or career break, whatever."
Yeah,
and
an anthropological sabbatical.
What kind of sabbatical?
Anthropological.
Very nice expression. I've heard it.
A lot of field work, field research.
Nice internal research.
Yeah.
So you had this great career, but now, okay, you said, I'm doing this and I will also apply for some freelance jobs. So how did you position yourself? What did you highlight from your previous career, from your career break? Like, how did you build a story about you to present to the new potential?
Yeah, so my story has always been one of global curiosity. So, you know, I've worked in a bunch of different sectors: international development, design thinking, systems design, business and brand strategy, like organization and culture design. So for me, the topics have been pretty agnostic. I've done everything from like launching a company in the regenerated textile space to creating a community engagement strategy for like an alternative health, like an alternative medical system, to sustainable seafood, to like Rockefeller Foundation did this 100 resilient cities campaign. So like I don't have a specialty in a specific, I have like types of projects that I've done, but it's really for me, it's the skill set kind of at the center of strategy, project management, and account management and relationship building. And so it's like I position myself in between those three things where I like to build relationship in order to get the thing done in a smart way. And I'm familiar with the boutique consultancy model, but don't want my whole career to be in that model anymore.
What does it mean, the boutique agency model?
So you think of like the big consultancies in America, like McKinsey and Deloitte. They're like these like blue chip, like massive. That's not me. I'm not trained as a management consultant like that. Boutique is more like it's a smaller style, usually has a couple of founders that are still directly involved in the work, has its like quirky own business design and like idiosyncrasies for the teams. So I've worked for 3 different agencies that were ranging from like 6 to 40 people. So pretty small teams. So boutique, and then consultancy is this like client services model. And then recently was working with a research startup that was 2 people and me part-time. So how did I position myself? Really, really showing like I'm a project manager, but I'm not like the one who's going to be in, I don't really want to be in the weeds of a project management software. I'm an account manager, and I'm not really trying to be a full salesperson. It's like I have always seen myself, and both of my parents are artists. I always, I ended up triple majoring and thinking I wanted to do business in China, and then lived in China. Was like, I don't really want to live that far away from home. But I've always thought of myself as the strategic partner for the visionary or the creative or the artist. So my latest positioning, alongside this like project management skill set, account management skill set, is like I want to partner with people who have the idea, because I still am not quite sure what my idea is that I want to fully build. I want to partner with those people to help them have accountability, have support and structure, have like someone to double check and like do some thought partnership with. And I've been experimenting with that in the music space recently. I'm working on a scope with a music producer who he knows the music industry. He's now looking for like an artist manager, but he needs someone to be like, hey, what are my goals? Who do I want to work with? Who do I want to pitch to? How do I want to tell the story of my own brand? And then I can like meet with him on a monthly basis and like have some talk in between around like, hey, remember, like this is the thing we're working towards. Are we still working towards this? And have you done the 3 things that you said you were going to do in order to get there? And if not, like, okay, we'll do them next month. Or like, we figure out our own way of what that accountability looks like. But that's like one way that I've been taking this kind of like relationship and like accountability and project management positioning and trying it out in a new space where I feel more alive.
Mixing and matching like the different industry and the knowledge. And I think that's such a missing link in the music industry, like this business mindset or building a brand. It's because majority of artists, I think like 98% of the artists is one man band. Basically they're creating music, doing marketing, blah, 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 and then forgetting about the business part. So I've been working in music industry for years. Absolutely loved it, from organizing festivals to being part of a really cool music data startup. But I've been seeing, let's say, a lot of challenges, struggling artists, like majority of them, like 98%, is struggling with money, with business, with marketing. They are doing everything by themselves, like creating a music, marketing, doing social media, I don't know, and then forgetting about the business part.
Yeah.
If you don't have generate enough money, you cannot, do this part, or you need to outsource. And majority of artists is struggling because of it. You having those two knowledge parts, like how do you see how can artists help each other, or what they should outsource to benefit in their career?
Well, so I have two thoughts that come from that. Excuse me. One is music is an elastic industry, which means when money is tight, it's one of the first things to go.
Yeah.
Because people, it's not like I don't know. For me, it's vital in my life, so I would never leave it. But like spending on shows, spending on merch, like however we interact financially and support the economy of music, struggles faster in an economy that's not doing well. The second thing is this challenge that you're speaking to for musicians is not unique to artists or musicians. Sure. Doctors experience it, therapists, there's like the skill set that you specialize in, and then there's the skill set of business and of like, I don't know, we call it lifestyle design, sounds a little woo-woo, but like the way that you are running your business and running your admin related to the actual thing that you're doing. And so I don't want to just say that like, oh, silly art, silly producers don't know how to run a business. Like neither do doctors, of course, a lot of the time. Some doctors, sure, but we saw this a lot in one of the past projects I've done in the medicine space. I think that basic education could be helpful in this space around like, how do you run a business? I think that having someone who can support you, even if they're not doing the thing, they're just asking questions about how you're doing the thing to help guide. I'm technically running my own business at this point, and I have gotten to this point by asking friends of mine how they've done theirs. Exactly. And so there's a lot of like, it comes from community and it comes from education in those spaces. And so I don't know that I really have like a specific resource that I would point to, but I feel for people and that like struggle with that element of it. Yeah. And I think sometimes the answer might be to have like a bookkeeper or like some version of that where they're alongside and they're helping you to run your admin part of your business. Sometimes it's just like self-education around how to do it for yourself. And then, there are probably a bunch of other options that I just am not thinking about right now.
But like for the project you're doing with this artist on a monthly basis, what are maybe the key pillars that you can help him the most with it?
I think it's really helpful for him to have someone to gut check things with. So being a second point of view. For example, just this morning, he sent me some screenshots of a festival that's asked him to play. Mm-hmm. And he sent me a couple, maybe 2 weeks ago, his response. And I was like, this looks great. I would just change the wording of this one thing so you're not committing before you know the information you need to know. Yeah. And then now he's like, I'm kind of getting a weird feeling from this. It seems off. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I feel the same. Like, okay. I validate what you're feeling. Or it's like, oh no, like another friend of mine who is a producer called me a couple of weeks ago and was like, hey, I actually messed up in this way. Do you think this is going to be a big deal for the label that I want to sign a track with? And I was like, actually, I think you're totally fine. Like, don't spend too much time thinking about this thing. Yeah. Put your energy somewhere else. So to have someone who helps you figure out what the priorities are and like what the right place is to have your brain spinning, because it happens, I think, to everyone where we can get caught in something that we think is really important and maybe it's not, or we can overlook something that's really important and maybe it's like that's the place where you need to be building a relationship or like building out your expertise. And so to have someone else who's there as like a grounding thought partner specifically with the artists that I'm working with, it's like, all right, if you want to do like these 3 things by the end of next year, then what are the smaller objectives that lead up to those goals? And then how do we ride the waves of your energy when you're feeling creative versus you're feeling like you want to get things done, to build towards those objectives that then achieve the goals that you set out over whatever time period. So like, does that mean, yes, you should follow up on this request to collaborate with this other artist, or maybe this could be fun, but we're just doing it because it's fun. Yeah. Or maybe it's a strategic relationship to build that will unlock other doors. And not everything, maybe it's just fun because it's fun. Not everything needs to be for an output. Mm-hmm. But our energy, it's not finite, because I find sometimes I'm doing high energy things that sometimes it builds on itself, but our time is finite. And it's the only thing that is guaranteed is that our time is limited and that things are going to change. So I guess that's 2 things, and also like an infinite number of things. But so how do you spend your energy in the moments that you have? And sometimes it's towards an objective, and sometimes it's just because the energy is refilling itself, whether that's resting or whether that's doing things that generate more energy for ourselves.
And how did your journey in the music industry start? Like from basically a fan, not knowing anyone, and then meeting you at a festival a month later, you're like knowing all of the artists, hanging out with them, had all of the information. But like, I knew that you had no connection. So basically you build it in basically a matter of hours or days. So I saw this and I felt so inspired that everything is possible if you just be yourself, authentic, and just love what you do or love who you are.
I think authenticity is really the answer there. Yeah. I mean, and again, like I have a lot of privilege, so that makes doors open for me in certain ways. So I don't want to take that for granted. But like I have been on a path to try to be in the authentic spaces where I feel the most connected and aligned, even, whether that's like happiness or like the gravity of a situation, or like, sometimes you're dealing with things that are really hard. So not trying to be like a toxic positivity existence out there. I like went from someone who was obsessive about this music in introspective, quiet spaces, like living in India, taking 14-hour bus rides. I would listen to like Jody Wisternoff's Unjunadeep 08 mix, and like it would take me somewhere else and would get me through these like crazy dangerous roads, or like bus drives that were no air conditioning, no bathroom breaks, so you can't really drink water. And I just would like, you have your anxiety, whatever, like the roughness of the travel. And I would be somewhere else, like just in this space that these people had created for me. Yeah. Not for me, but created, that I was able to tap into. In 2023, I want to say, I went to my first Anjuna event. So my cousin and I drove out to the Columbia River Gorge, and we walked into the venue for a camping festival. And I was just hit by this wave of energy of like, oh my gosh, there are thousands of people that love this music the same way that I do. I knew that, I've been into music my whole life, just like recreationally, and, like I've played instruments and taken music theory and whatever, but never really thought about it as a career. Although the funny thing is, when I lived in China in undergrad, I did do an internship at an international music communications company, and we did like shows with J-Lo. So nice. I tell myself I've never considered music as a career. And then I look back at that, like there were skipping signs. Stone trail, and like there were signs. Where was I? I walk into this event, and I'm like, I like was really excited to go see the music and see the artists. Wow. But it was this community, and it was this energy of like being in person together, and all these people who have like the tattoos, and they've made these things to give as gifts to people, and
like stickers, sunglasses.
Yeah, they're all nerds about it the way that I am. And I was like, I was high on that energy for like 3 weeks afterwards. And I thought I was having a manic episode. I actually went and saw an energy healer and was like, I can't come down from this.
Yeah.
Like it's not like substances like I was like, I am way up here. I'm spinning and spinning and like, it's not sustainable. It's too much. But it was like something had broke through. And I've seen it happen to other people who've like connected into this. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was here. And now I'm in this channel and I'm tuned in and like, it was crazy. But that I experienced that. And then I quit my job. I ended a romantic relationship that I'd been in for 3 years. That was really sweet, but it wasn't the right structure for me. And I almost gave up my apartment. Thankfully, I kept my apartment because I needed something for that roots of the tree. But I just got there and I was like, oh my gosh, my life could be like this. Not like at a party all the time, but I can feel like this and I can build structures that help me get to this place. So I've kept coming back. I flew to Tulum. Tulum's fine. Like it's whatever. I went to Austin. I went to all these, like I started traveling instead of like whatever I could take my resources towards, I started putting it towards bringing myself to these spaces where I felt the most alive. And then I would meet other people who were on that energy, on that wavelength, on that same kind of like even intellectual place where they're like, we could talk about the songs or the artists or the emotions or whatever it is like that come up as part of that experience. And so then I planned this trip, I quit in March. So I go to the show it was August of 23. I go to Tulum in January of 24, which is my second event. And I see the community again. And I'm like, okay, this is real. And the relationship, quit the job in March. In May, I booked the one-way ticket to Norway and travel through Europe and do this whole thing where I met you. And then go to Explorations in Albania, which is a week. And it's this music festival where it's really logistically challenging to get to. And it's a boutique music festival. So it's about 3,000 people on the seaside of the Adriatic Sea. And it's like, if people are there, it's because they really want to be there because it's tough to get to. But it's also the most beautiful, I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about it. It's the most beautiful place in the world. And maybe not the most, but like it just is this container. I call it a container, and this is the anthropologist in me when I studied anthropology. It's a container for collective effervescence, which is a phenomena that happens when people are in person together and their energy is kind of reverberating against each other. It's like if you go to a concert, any concert, and everyone is singing and you feel that feeling, but it's like that for 7 days. And you like your relationship with sleep and with food and with your ability to walk, like it's all different than it is in real life. And like, obviously you can hear my voice is still a little froggy from like, I just, the light switch is on and you're plugged into this channel. And so I went last year and it was like the first night that I got there, I just clicked with a couple people. And then the second night clicked with a few more people and just kept meeting people like that. And it was, there's a certain part of fangirl in me where I'm like, I'm standing in a room with the guy who created the label, or like hanging out with Jody Wisternoff, who years before had been in my ears on repeat as I went through these like formational like travels as I'm trying to find myself and find what my positioning in the world is supposed to be. I'd quit. That was another time that I quit my career, moved to India with a one-way ticket, was totally lost, totally had no idea who I was going to be. But like the music was grounding for me in this space where like I was an air sign way out there in the air, didn't know where my roots were. And so again, like back to that kind of like finding the balance between those things. But yeah, you were asking about like how I've networked, and it was like beyond my curiosity around the business of the label and how things work behind the scenes, and like my fangirl appreciation for the gift that these producers have sat in their basements and like been in their flow state and been tapping into their emotional body and like creating this music that then resonates so strongly with all these people that are willing to like drive 5 hours to the gorge, fly across the country to drive 5 hours to the gorge, or fly across the world to go to Albania. like, obviously there's something there. And then just my desire to be in spaces where I'm on the same wavelength and vibrating on the same frequency as these people. And you end up picking up, like, in some ways it's relationships with people where you talk on the phone on a daily basis or you text a couple times a week. Sometimes it's people where you see them every couple months and like it's like no time has passed and you're just instantly there. Sometimes with these like people in these spaces, you've never even spoken to someone, but you've made eye contact and that's enough. And like you can just feel that there's that humanity and that love and that connection there. And so from there, I've just tried to spend time and energy on the connections that have felt aligned and just see what I have to learn from that and see what I have to contribute in those spaces. And that, I mean, it's never really been with an objective. Like, would I love to have a scope of work with Anjuna? Yeah, of course, that would be so fun. Did I go because I'm trying to get a job? No, I went because it really is the place where I feel like I belong. And it's this fundamental human need that we all have of belonging. And like, yeah, for better, for worse, for me, that sometimes is like at 3 a.m. on a dance floor in a country that like people I went to school with never even heard of, or, you know, or in New York City or whatever. But I think those are some of the moments where I feel the most alive. And then I also find people that are very like-minded with me who are like, yeah, let's go. You know, we just spent a week in Montenegro and like, let's just go be silly and talk about our lives and our fears and our hopes and, you know, eat good food and like swim in the sea. And I'm so freaking lucky to be able to do that with these amazing people. Yeah. And like, we're humans in relationship. Like there are moments of chaos and there are moments of like quirky decisions where we're like, but I've honestly found in some of these friendships that come from this place of authenticity and connection that it leads to moments where you can also show up and be like, hey, transparently, like this thing happened and it didn't feel good to me. Do we want to build this relationship forward based on that and like based on shared information? Or do we want to part ways? And I think when you have other relationships that are more transactional or more objective based or more materialistic, a lot of the time that stuff can get swept to the side and, you know, you have different kinds of relationships with people that are less authentic and less tapped in. So anyway, that's a long way of answering your question.
No, but I have some sub questions because like music in general is very emotional. You fell in love with an artist, with a show, with a label, more often with an artist or a band. In this case, majority of people fell in love with a label. What I find, I mean, I've been to a lot of festivals around the world, but what I find fascinating is like the community. It's still like, it's small, it's not big, but it's real, like authentic. Each of people being at a festival, like invested a lot of time or planning. Majority of people buy these tickets like in October, right?
Yeah, or like next week. I think the tickets are going on sale for Albania again.
Exactly. And having, I don't know, planned the bracelets, the fake tattoos, the glass, I don't know, like it's crazy how strong the community and love towards this brand is.
Yeah.
And it's also about the music. The music is a bit, I don't know, electric, very, like it gets you into some strange, I don't know, stage emotionally that you just feel so connected. And the size, I think the size of the festival is perfect, like 3,000 people.
Yeah.
Like and the length, like 1 week. So basically you're meeting the same people. It's not like if you go to EDC Las Vegas and there's like, I don't know. Huge.
It's huge and it's, what's the word? I'm like permeous, I want to say. I don't think that's the right word, but like permeable. Like people can come and go. Exactly. It's pretty easy to get to if you're in the area. So it's not this like intentional container.
Yeah. And also, so one of the funny part is like, you can go to Jipe, is the daytime party in the middle of nowhere, like on the
It's in this
beach.
giant canyon, like this giant red canyon
Yeah.
that people will go to just for a vacation.
Yeah.
But there's this like tent in the bush with like DJs that you have seen on festival stages.
Yeah.
But then when you get too hot, which inevitably happens because it's very hot out there, you can go swimming in this crystal clear blue water with these cliffs. Side story quickly. Last year I went, and I went later in the festival, so I was exhausted and I got overheated and I was sent out of the bush. They're like, you don't look like you feel very well. I was like, oh, I don't feel so good right now. So I drank some water and then I went out on the water and I ended up having a chat with this local Albanian man who was on an air mattress. And he like paddled over and swam to me and was just telling me about his country. And like, I love learning the languages where I go somewhere. So I've been learning some Albanian. I've been learning.
Slovenian.
Yeah, I know. Customs asked me yesterday if I lived here. And I was like,
What did you say?
I said, no, I wish. And he said, well, how do you know the language? And I was like, I've been studying. I love the Balkans. If you don't know about the Balkans, y'all like don't sleep on Balkan summer. But anyway, yeah, it was such a funny Jeep experience last year. I didn't quite do it the quote right way because should have drank a lot more water and had some shade, but we did it better this year. I knew better.
Yeah, but the funny part is like there's maybe 300, 400 people. Like
it's much, much smaller. It might not even be that much.
Yeah.
Like Jeep maybe 1 to 200. I don't know though. I'm terrible.
But it's such a great experience, and you get like I don't know. There are a few boats going there, so you're like not pushed in. How would I say like?
It's like the boss level, like festival boss level.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a much smaller container within a container.
But even just being on the boat with like 30 other people, or 15 people, like there's like, oh, there's a limitation of how many people can experience this.
Well,
here.
It's like you're sharing boats with people that maybe you would have stood next to in a crowd, but might not have made eye contact with.
Yeah.
So it's all these different kind of little segmentations of how you're getting from one space to another space. And you don't have to talk to people, but everyone's just so high on the energy in the space that like, you're like, oh my gosh, look at that chicken on your bracelet, you know, or like people have these little trinkets that they give to each other.
Sure.
It's just, and the longer you get there, or the longer that you're there, the sillier it gets.
Yeah.
So all these just little inside jokes or like connections happen.
Last year was a banana with you, right? What was it, the banana?
I befriended the local security guards from Octopus Security. It was these Albanian boys. And I love the Albanians. They're so snarky and flirty. Like, and for the most part, it's not like sketchy. It's just like this kind of like snarky wit to it. And if you engage, I find it just really fun. So I befriended all of these security guards. And one night, one of them had confiscated a shark from someone. I was like, give me that shark. And they're like, no, girl. And I was like, give me the shark. And they said, no. And I was like, fine. And I stormed away. And then they came up with a banana that they had taken from Moti, or my friend. And he had been using it as like a totem the whole show. But they gave it to me. I think he had left. And so then I really don't like plastic waste. I don't usually buy stuff if I know I'm going to throw it out. But if someone's going to give me a plastic banana, blow up toy, I was like, all right, I'm going to carry this around. So I danced with it the last day. And then I continued traveling for a month or two. Yeah. And I brought it with me and I used it as like a flotation device. I used it as a travel pillow on buses, as a footrest.
Yeah, and it was like part of Boutique Festival as well.
Yeah, it became part of my identity. In fact, I met friends this year that I'd crossed paths with last year who were like, where's the banana? And I was like, I don't think I've ever met you before. And they're like, no, but we saw you. And then just, funny little things like this. The banana last year, I went to an event in London at Finsbury Park, and kind of poetically, it was confiscated from me at the festival by a security guard. Yeah, they didn't let me bring it in, even though there were 2 other bananas out there in the crowd. And I asked really nicely if I could have mine, and they said no. And they like, get out of here. So I scuttled away and was like, okay, things come and they go.
But these are so small, like crazy things that makes you recognizable. And people just come to you, right?
Yeah, well, I'm also 6'3", so I'm pretty recognizable anyway. But then it's like 6'3" girl with a banana is like that's conversation starting. And I'm very friendly, so
True.
I'm almost always happy to like engage.
True.
If it's coming from the right energetic place. But so the banana story continues. This year, my same friend had brought a few bananas to the festival, same blow up banana. And on the last day, I'm gonna like blow up his spot with this right now. He decided he was going to have a ceremony to send the banana out to sea. And I'm like, dude, you can't put plastic trash in the sea. I'm like, what are you thinking? I showed up a little late to this, so it had already happened. But my other friend swam out and got the banana. He had to swim actually pretty far because it had drifted out. And so I come up after yelling at my friend. He's like, I did the ceremony. I was like, that was bad. That was wrong of you. You can't put plastic in the ocean, in the sea.
No,
it's not the ocean, it's the sea. So I come up to the beach and the banana's there. And I was like, it begins again. Chapter 2. So now I have it with me, and it rolls up really small. It's multifunctional travel accessory. If I ever need lumbar spine support, I will use that as like an extra cushion. And it's just fun. Like, it's silly. A banana is not offensive to just about anyone. So yeah, we'll see how it continues to show up. I have a reel on my Instagram of like cuts of different banana content from Boutique Festival and from like my travels in Malta and like Croatia and other spots. So it's fun. It's just silly. Brings a little spark of joy to people when they're like, is that a banana? Why?
Exactly. Conversation starter. Last year was the first time you came to Slovenia, right? In June, and then you returned in July.
July and October. I think those were the 3 trips that I made. Because it was the time I met you, and then I came back for Boutique before we went to Belgrade together.
Yeah.
And then I came back and we did Isola.
And Istria. And oysters and truffles.
That oyster farm was cool.
What was your favorite part about Slovenia? Like, you explored quite a lot, basically.
So I struggle with favorite in general because I think things are so multifaceted that I have a hard time with the ranking system. But something that I'm really fond of with Slovenia is like the nature here and like the natural beauty and the energy, but then also the sportiness of the country, which is ironic because I didn't grow up with sports. Like, they were all around me, but both of my parents are artists. I never played any organized sports.
Yeah.
I played field hockey for 2 weeks, which was silly because I'm really tall and it's not a tall girl sport. But Slovenia has this like passion for this. You were telling me about this last year, like you did well in skiing and then everyone got really into skiing, like
the climbing and everything, biking.
Your passion for padel.
Yes.
So I don't know. I love the hobby, like the sport hobby dedication and the passion there. And I'm like, oh, maybe one day I could pick up on this too.
Much welcome. Join us.
Well, I'm not playing paddle with you though. I have to go through like the bunny slopes course first, you know.
Let's see, because
I need to learn before you ever see me swing a paddle.
The paddle,
Yes, yeah. No, because you girls are elite.
Let's see. But today you can maybe check. And also I think tomorrow you're gonna go to some hike.
Yeah. Oh, I'm good at hiking though. I'm built for that.
Yeah. Basically, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Half Slovenian already.
Dobro.
Dobro, hvala.
Super.
Raccoon.
Oh, is that how to ask for the bill?
Raccoon, yeah.
Raccoon.
What would be your advice from, having a good career and then taking this, let's say, career break? What would be the advice you would give to yourself when you are on this like crossroad?
Like considering doing this? I think like are in, I think like pay attention to the multiple intelligences that we have. So you have your intellectual intelligence, but then there's also the intelligence of the body. My body is right now telling me that I've done a little too much in the last couple of days, but like tapping into your somatic knowledge and not just being stuck in your head, because we can catastrophize. We can come up with 1,000 different outcomes for something based on what we know, but none of that is going to overcome what we know, at the core of our being. And I think, especially as women, and especially in this capitalistic age, we're told to suppress that. And like, sometimes that knowing can be really inconvenient towards the plan that we've made for ourselves. But doesn't matter what the plan is if it doesn't fit, that like your reality. So, excuse me. Yeah, I think there are multiple intelligences that we have access to, and sometimes it's a really heady, strategic, forward-looking, and sometimes we need to make sure we're not forgetting that present moment and that somatic, like energetic grounding that also has an intelligence that we haven't all really been incentivized externally as much to pay attention to, but is the thing that's really going to unlock happiness and connection and depth of emotion, depth of experience, not just happiness again, but like sadness and the poignancy and the bittersweet elements of life that can kind of get washed over when we're trying to be too much like machines and trying to be too go forward, like too always on. I think they're like the multifaceted element of the information that we have for ourselves.
Thank you so much. This was such a perfect ending to this conversation.
This was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. See you soon again for sure.
Yeah.
On the dance floor or who knows where.
Or in Slovenia somewhere.
Definitely in Slovenia. Thank you.
Thank you.